Hi, it's Tom Church from latestdeals.co.uk, and today we're talking about student credit cards. What are they? Can you pay a student credit card off with your student loan? What's the difference between a student credit card and a normal credit card? Let's find out. Student credit cards are for college and university students who otherwise wouldn't be able to get a normal credit card because, catch 22, they don't have a credit history score. So student credit cards are for those who don't yet have a credit history score, and the application process is easier for them to get one. How does it work? Student credit cards work in the same way that normal credit cards do. The bank lends you money, this is debt, and it gives it to you via a credit card. You spend the money in the shops or on your bills, and then you pay the money back to the bank. With that paying back, sometimes you may have to pay interest. Interest is the charge on the debt that you've borrowed, or the fee. If you're late on your payment, they might charge you a percentage, for example, 2, 3, 4%, or even more, and that is added on top of your bill. So let's say you borrow £100, you spend it, but you don't pay it back on time. The interest rate, let's say, is 10%. That means you'll need to pay back £110 back to the bank. The most important thing to know about student credit cards is the same thing as all credit cards. The number one rule is to pay back your debt on time every month. If you don't, that's when you get charged interest. If you pay back what you've borrowed before that deadline, you don't have to pay interest, and that's where credit cards are useful. So the first thing you should do as soon as you get your credit card through the door is set up a direct debit from your bank account to the credit card company, just like you would for your gym membership or your Netflix or your mobile phone. And that way the credit card charges the bill automatically to your bank account, and so you're always paying it off in full every month on time. What you have to make sure, of course, is that you've got enough money in your bank account to pay off the credit card debt, which brings us on to the second cardinal rule of all credit cards. Make sure you can afford what you're spending. Are there any differences between student credit cards and normal credit cards? Yes, there are a few key differences. The number one being student credit cards are much easier to get as a student, as you would expect. You don't need such a high credit history score or even credit history at all when you apply for certain student credit cards. However, because student credit cards have a low eligibility criteria, that means they also have higher interest rates if you miss your payment. The reason for that is that banks are taking a bigger chance on you. They don't know who you are, they've got nothing to show your track record with money or whether you're responsible or not, and therefore they put on a premium in case you do miss your payments. Plus, with student credit cards, you may not be able to borrow as much money. Again, this is because you don't yet have a credit history. Once you've built a credit history, you can apply for normal credit cards, which will enable you to borrow more money. But student credit cards tend to have smaller credit limits. Okay, so how should you use a student credit card? If you want to build a positive credit score and get the most out of a student credit card, we have 4 golden rules. Number 1, never miss a monthly payment. The whole point of student credit card is to start building your credit score, and that score is measured by how well you pay back the debt. So make sure you're always paying back your debt every month before the deadline. You don't want to be charged with interest, you don't want to be charged with fees, and you don't want other things and rewards to go down either. Number 2, only borrow what you can afford to pay back. And that comes down to being sensible too. When you're taking a student credit card, don't think of it as free money. It's not. You've got to pay it back. And unlike your student loan, you've got to pay it back every month starting from now. So when you're spending things with it, make sure you're spending things that aren't too expensive and that you can afford to pay it back, or at least the minimum monthly repayments every month. So sadly, that's no to the flashy cars, but perhaps yes to the student laptop. Number 3, don't spend more than your credit limit. Student credit cards are very cheeky. They tell you, oh, because you're a student, we're going to give you a lower credit limit. You can't spend more than that. However, when you do spend more than that, they will let you. What's going on here? They want you to spend more because then they charge you fees for it. It's a bit like an overdraft on your bank account. You have your money, but when you get to zero and you use it, some banks will let you keep going, and then they charge you a fee. Sometimes they don't even warn you that you've reached your credit limit. So be really careful. If it says credit limit £1,000, do not go over that credit limit. When you do spend it, they will let you, but then you'll be charged hefty fees and interest rates and all sorts of problems, such as your credit score going down. Number 4, something not many people know about, but don't withdraw cash on your student credit card. It seems so natural with your bank debit card to go to the hole in the wall and withdraw cash. With student credit cards though, they will charge you a fee when you do that. So don't withdraw cash. Only use it for shopping, for example, online or in the store. So is a student card right for you? Well, only you can decide, but you have to have a frank conversation with yourself. Are you good at paying your bills? It could just be your Netflix, it could be some subscription services, your gym, or maybe you're renting and now you're having to pay your rent. Are you always doing it on time, and do you have enough money in your bank to do it? Do you have enough income in your bank to pay it off every month? Just remember one thing. Student credit cards, like all credit cards, is debt. And it's not like your student loan where you can pay it back in some distant time in the future. With the credit cards, you've got to pay it back now, every single month. At least the minimum monthly repayments, but you want to be doing more. Also note, you shouldn't feel pressured into buying one ever. If you're feeling that pressure, don't get it. If that pressure is from not having money, don't get it. Find another way. It'll only make problems worse. If someone has told you you have to get a credit card to have a good credit score, it's not true. I, for example, didn't have a credit card until I was 30 years old, but I still had a good credit score without a credit card. There are other ways to do it. Just by having a mobile phone contract, just by having your Netflix subscription or something like that, gym memberships, they all contribute to your credit score. So don't feel like this is the only way to do it. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you want more advice on student credit cards, including which ones are the best and other types of credit cards like rewards credit cards, cashback credit cards, airline credit cards, go to latestdeals.co.uk where we've got huge guides, 3,000, 4,000 words long, tables of comparison, all for you, all free, just helpful advice to help you save money. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more.